Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. This is the April meeting of the Mira Mesa Community Planning Group. Mary, do you want to call the roll? I'm pretty sure we have a quorum, but let's just check.
Sure. Shucks, I'm not really prepared. I opened up the meeting minutes, but forgot to grab the roster. So give me a second.
You can see more than my forehead. Well, that's not too bad. You need it? I don't know.
Don't worry, Mary, you're the most underpaid person on the whole group.
And you know, I got so organized last time. I added a bunch of information and then I forgot I needed to also do that. So, all right. So call to order, 7:02, and we have Kent Lee, Tom Durr, Craig Jackson, Ralph Carolyn. Ralph, yes, I saw Ralph. And then John LaBaugh. Did I see John? Looking at everyone's picture, but
He's here. Yes, he's not
He's
visible,
here.
but he's here.
okay. And then Joe's here. Bari, I think I heard Bari earlier. So yes,
Here, yes.
Bari, Jeff, Bruce is here, right? Bruce.
So Bruce is actually not on the planning group now.
Oh, okay. I'm working
Had
off
the
the old list because I gotcha. Craig is here, Julia, Harkey, me. Do we still have Marvin Miles? Sorry, I'm working off an old
He
list.
told me he was going to be out of town and wouldn't be able to make it today.
Okay.
I told him if I'm in Oregon, he can make it from wherever he is, but I guess he didn't.
Is Justin here? He was on the earlier meeting,
Yes, he is.
so I'm sorry. Yes, he is.
He is.
Okay.
Yep,
And
I'm
then
here.
Mike, I saw Mike Linton, right?
Yes, he's here.
And Lilith is here.
Mhm.
And so let's see, Rose Wang.
Don't see her.
And then the new folks, Ian, right?
Ian is here.
Ian Kerman and Dorothy Lorenz.
Hi.
Here.
And is it Koa Win?
No, Andrew is the third one. Andrew Makusalek.
Andrew. Okay, I see him. All right.
Am I still on the
Yes.
board?
We have a quorum.
Tom Dare is not on the board.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Oh, he's not. Oh,
No,
all
We
right.
still like
without
you.
your quorum, I'll be here.
Yeah, no. I just grabbed whatever sheet that I had printed already instead of looking forward to my soft files. So we have 1,
Incredibly too large.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
What
9,
size are they?
10, 11,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
12, 13,
Yeah.
14, 15, 16,
Yeah, I see.
17.
Those are too big.
So we have a quorum.
Good. Okay, so we'll start with
I should see if
And then
Rick
please
Griffiths wants
mute
them for Tommy.
yourselves.
Oh, he's up for college though.
7 or 8.
Oh, 17? Oh my gosh.
Okay, I've muted everyone, but you can you're allowed to unmute yourself, so just do that whenever you need to. Is there any non-agenda public comment tonight?
Yes, Jeff, I have a non-agenda public comment.
Go ahead, Joe.
Now we can go to church, we can go to Costco, we can go to school. We need to get these meetings back. Now, right now, hardly anybody comes to our meetings but the board members. So we can go back to the library and sit 6 feet apart from each other and not allow anybody else in there, except we can Zoom them in if we need to. So we can start meeting in public again.
I don't think the library is open for that just yet, Joe. But we'll get back there when we can.
I like the Zoom meetings. They're great. I think you get more attendance actually than not. This is Lil, by the way.
I agree. This is Julia. Zoom meetings are awesome.
They save a lot of transportation time. So, okay, Tommy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. I just wanted to speak for a couple minutes. I think I had 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's Tommy Howe. It's good to see everyone. I'm running for San Diego City Council District 6, which includes Mira Mesa, as you're well aware. Many of you may recall that I ran back in 2018. I put myself down for the Zoom meetings. Like Lilith said, I think it's a great way to get more people into the meetings. It certainly makes parking and finding a place to park a lot easier. And it's great too, because, you know, Jeff and Pam are often in Western Oregon right now and can actually join the meeting. But regardless, once the meetings go back in person, I'll be happy to attend at that time as well. Just a couple of things real quick. Since the campaign came to an end in 2018, I went to go work for the Rewild Mission Bay campaign, which is a part of the San Diego Audubon Society. And I've been doing that for the last couple of years. I wound up announcing my campaign again for 2022 about 3 weeks ago. Really, infrastructure is going to be a key component as it was in 2018. I think many of you know that I've been one of the squeaky wheels on Gold Coast Drive for the last couple of years. I live right off of Gold Coast Drive. We walk our dog along Gold Coast Drive. We go to Mesa Verde Park. You're familiar with it, of course, certainly east of Parkdale, which is another road that is in the plan to be rebuilt along with Gold Coast. You've got 3 schools. You've also got a major bus route along there. And it's really become this indicative symbol of San Diego's failure to stay ahead of investing in its infrastructure. I think a lot of us are aware that Mira Mesa was built very, very quickly 50 years ago. A lot of these roads are built upon loose soils, poor drainage. And we've been seeing the result of that for years. And I can talk about libraries, and in District 6, we have some issues with our libraries in Claremont. But really, the nucleus of District 6 is in Mira Mesa, and we need to begin investing in our infrastructure here. And it begins with streets and sidewalks, getting stoplights along Camino Ruiz. You know, downtown loves to give itself symphony halls and sports stadiums and convention center expansions. We just want the roads we built. We just want streetlights. We just want some of the basics that really improve the quality of life that we already enjoy here in Mira Mesa. So I'm going to, if it's okay with the chair, I'm going to drop my information in the chat for my campaign. It's tommyhowe.com. I'll put my phone number in there as well. I'd love to connect with each and every one of you online, offline. It would be great to talk more about what we're doing in 2022, what we're focusing on, which also includes concerns like housing and homelessness. And those are significant concerns that also affect our quality of life here in Mira Mesa and in District 6. Running a race like this is a marathon, so I look forward to speaking with you more. Thank you, Jeff.
For your information in the chat. Judy Strang. You can unmute yourself there.
Good evening. Good evening, Mira Mesa Planning Group. I have on occasion attended your meetings when we were live and had expressed concerns on behalf of parent groups regarding marijuana businesses in the city of San Diego. But of particular interest to us this evening, and I'm glad that City Council member Cate is there. I guess first of all, a salute to Chris for his work he's done on billboards. And my ask tonight would be that we do more of it, we do it faster, and we recognize how billboards normalize marijuana use for young people when they see them out on our major freeways. As you may know, there has been a recent court ruling that there can be no marijuana billboards on any major freeway. And I'd like to suggest to you that we extend that even further and remove them from the inner neighborhoods where our families live. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Kent Lee.
Evening, everyone. I actually just wanted to take a moment to share a separate item first, which is, as some of you might know, I am the executive of the Pacific Arts Movement. We are hosting our San Diego Asian Film Festival Spring Showcase starting later this week. So I'll drop some info about that in the chat later, just for those who are interested, especially since we've had some of our programs up here in Mira Mesa in particular. But aside from that, I think many of you already know that I've thrown my hat in the ring for the San Diego City Council race to represent District 6. Have had the pleasure of working with many of you over the years here in the Mira Mesa area, where I've been a resident for 15 years. And of course, have two little ones that I'm raising here with my wife. This is Oliver. He's the one-year-old, and I can't put him down, otherwise he's gonna lose it seems. But yeah, I'm running largely because I believe in ensuring that our local neighborhood voices are represented. I've worked with many of you on issues, everything from looking at the infrastructure and transit as we're building out some of these major developments coming up, to even just talking about other community issues that really impact all of us. And just look forward to the opportunity to connect with each of you. I know during the pandemic, it's going to be tough to meet, and it sounds like we might still be on Zoom for some time. So, just for those who are interested, look forward to reaching out and sharing more about the campaign. Perhaps the one thing I will note is that we've had a significant amount of momentum. I do believe we're going to build one of the broadest and most diverse coalitions of support for this race, and look forward to earning many of your support along the way. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'll drop my info in the chat as well. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Kent. Have one more, Kelly McCormick.
Hi, yes, this is Kelly McCormick. And I heard someone else talk about wanting fewer billboards, marijuana billboards. And I guess it's kind of ironic that I'm calling in a way to ask for more billboards. But the reason is that I'm teaching my son to drive now, and it's made me more aware of all of the marijuana billboards and the dangerous roads. I saw an article about this being Distracted Driving Awareness Month. And one of the things they list as a distraction is impaired driving. And I feel like a lot of people think that that's alcohol, but it's also marijuana. And I think the city is not doing enough to get that message across. Last year, as you may know, there was a record number of driving deaths caused by impaired drivers. And so when I see those billboards, I just think, they're allowing these marijuana companies to put up these billboards, but where is the education? And, why not some billboards informing people how dangerous it is to drive while they're impaired? So from marijuana, in addition to alcohol and drugs and other things. So it's not just alcohol. So that's all. I thank you for your time and for letting me share my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of non-agenda public comment. Go to modifications to the agenda. I have one. Chris Cate is here and he asked to speak to us. So I'm going to go ahead and put him on next. Chris, you can make yourself visible again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And hopefully everyone can see I think my video should be on, but I appreciate Mr. Chair allowing me the opportunity to speak before you all this evening. I hope you are all doing well. I wanted to just give an update to folks regarding the status of Gold Coast and Parkdale, where we're at. It's been a couple of months since we gave a verbal update to, I believe, the town council at that time about where things are at. Despite what you have not seen, there has been some progress and movement forward. So I wanted to give an update on that and also give some background on the project for folks who may be new and haven't heard me give this presentation in the past regarding this project. Despite what some may claim or say in terms of getting this project off the ground, this has been a priority of our office since we came into office 6.5 years ago. And I like to say that we've been actually the squeaky wheel that has gotten this project off the ground and gotten the over $11 million that has been needed for this project. As has been mentioned in previous times, Gold Coast and Parkdale was built incorrectly when this neighborhood was initially built. And any past attempts to either slurry the project or repair the streets in any certain sort of way were inadequate. It did not work. And essentially we've been told that we need a full reconstruction of this street, which involves removing the asphalt and the top layer of dirt beneath the asphalt, relaying a subsurface and essentially reconstructing the street. In addition to that, rebuilding certain sidewalks and ramps to comply with ADA and stormwater requirements as well too. We've held 2 forums on this in which we brought the city's engineer to talk about the project, the length of time on the project it would take. It's a very big project that would take over a year, nearly a year and a half to complete. And so we wanted to be open and transparent regarding that process when it did initially kick off. The last time we spoke, we were thanking all of you for speaking at a number of hearings that were held in the past, both at the budgets and when we were going to market for the bonds to pay for this project. I can tell you that both the previous administration and the current administration has heard you loud and clear. Where we're at currently is that sometime this week, we are expected to have the proceeds from the bonds, from the sale of those bonds, deposited into our accounts at the city. From then, there are just a couple of steps additional after that. Most notably that we have to actually appropriate the funds to these projects, to our CIP accounts, to begin construction of the projects. I met with the mayor actually today, and him and his office through Michaela, who I'm not sure if she's on the call or not, have been fantastic partners. They have heard us and you all loud and clear. They have told me directly that this project is a priority for this current administration. And so now it's just a matter of time. We would love for the wheels of government to turn faster, but we are where we are. And so our hope is that by June, we as a council have appropriated the funds to the project, and thus we'll be able to begin construction of the project. Once that happens, we will be working very quickly with our engineering and capital projects department to actually get a timeline of how this would work to ensure that the residents understand the process, what's going to take place, so that there aren't any surprises for a project of this magnitude. So we will be sure to let you know when that committee and or council date is happening. That way you all, if you choose to, can express your opinion, your voice, your support for the appropriation of the funding to the project, and thus we'll be able to move forward in a positive direction. My only ask of all of you is that obviously there are not 80,000 Mira Masons on this Zoom call, and thus they are not hearing this information. And so if there are any social media posts, folks are calling you, you're all leaders in this community, asking you about the status of this project, that you relay this information to them. If you didn't take copious notes or don't remember this, you're always welcome to call Luis. You all know Luis. You all know that he will get back to you. He will respond to any questions or comments. If you want to get hold of me, get hold of me as well too. You can see me at Target or anywhere else in the Mira Mesa community, because it's been asked if I'm a Mira Mesa resident, and I can assure you for a fact I'm a Mira Mesa resident, and thus I'm happy to give an update on this project. But that's where we're at. I wouldn't be doing my job if I weren't making a plug in for budget review committee meetings. You probably have heard and seen the stories about the mayor's proposed budget he released last week. We'll begin a presentation on the budget, a brief one tomorrow, but on May 5th, we begin our budget review committee meetings. They are typically all-day meetings for about a week, in which every department through the city presents and gives an opportunity to give a presentation on their proposed budgets. We also have one night meeting, which I believe is that first Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday, May 5th, in which there'll be a night meeting where residents will have the opportunity to phone in as opposed to during the middle of the day regarding their priorities for the budget. And like we did last year, we'll be doing another budget town hall with our IBA, Andrea Tevlin. It'll be a pre-recorded session, but we're going to be doing an ask, and you'll see the social media and emails out asking for any questions that anybody has regarding the budget to be sent to us. That way we can get those questions answered for you. So that's where we're at. You now know everything I know in terms of that project, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so Chris, so I've got a couple of questions. First of all,
Sure.
just confirm Parkdale and Gold Coast are both in this, right?
Yes, Parkdale and
Done
Gold Coast are
simultaneously?
both included in the project. Now,
Okay.
I can't say they'll both be constructed simultaneously. I'm sure they're gonna progress through the street, but they're both listed on the project list for funding.
Okay, and can you give me your best estimate as to when the first shovel will go into the ground and when
I
it'll be done?
I don't know the answer to that question, but once I do know the answer to that, we will be sure to relay that to all of you. Part of it is I don't know the timing of when council will actually make that appropriation. That's a big determinant factor as well too. It could be in May, it could be in June, so I'm not 100% sure on that. I told the mayor personally that obviously the sooner the better in which money can be appropriated, because otherwise we're now just sitting on a big pile of money and paying interest and not doing anything with it. So once I have that information, I will absolutely be sure to relay that to everybody in terms of the timing of that.
Okay, any other questions for Chris?
I was wondering, do you know if there are any other roads in Mira Mesa that have the same construction issue that Gold Coast does?
Not that I don't know. I would be surprised if there aren't any additional streets that are like that. But I don't know for a fact. The amount of pre-work that had to go on for this, and the amount of boring and drilling in the street and looking at the beneath the road and all that, that's not something that we typically do for all the streets. But obviously, if there's evidence of that fact, that's where we relay that to our engineering department, and then they can do the further investigation on those streets.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Chris, one more question on another street. Sure. The extension of Carroll Canyon Road past El Camino. Yes. What's the status of that?
So the last that we were told that it needs to be more design work that has to be done, part of which would be paid for by the FBA to pay for that work to do further design. We have expressed to our planning staff and our engineering folks as well too, again, that this is a project that needs to be done in conjunction with the build out of 3 routes to ensure that there's that access to that road. And then eventually, once Stone Creek gets built out, there's a full extension from both the 805 and the 15 for the construction of Carroll Canyon Road. But from my understanding, we're still in the process of waiting for the full funding for the design work and engineer work for the western extension of Carroll Canyon Road.
So is there anything going on at all right now, or just waiting for funding?
My understanding is we're waiting for funding.
Okay, I would encourage you to push that along, because
yes,
you know how long things take from, and we don't want another 6.5 years from now before we get that road in.
I wholly agree. I wholly agree. Yes.
And we were told at the plan update meeting we just had that there was an alignment study that the city was just about finished with. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, part of the study was working with Sandag to determine where to place the BRT, potential BRT line. Was it down the middle of Carroll Canyon? Was it going to be on the side of the street? That was my understanding. The alignment study that was conducted determined the best route, because in that way 3 routes had to determine how they were going to build the road and adjust for that within their design work as well too.
Okay, Alex, I saw you made yourself visible. Do you know anything?
Oh, there's Alex. There you go. He'll know more than I.
Hi, council member. Yeah, I can just give a quick update. The alignment, the initial high level alignment study for the western portion of Carroll Canyon Road, it's ongoing right now. I saw a preliminary draft of 2 alignments, but they're still working on that. But more detailed design will have to occur in addition. So it's just the first layer, so that ball is rolling, and I know that's everybody's priority, and we're all trying to get this ball moving. So yeah, just wanted to give an update. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Any other questions for Chris? Well, thank you, Chris. We always appreciate having you come out and giving us some information firsthand.
My pleasure. And like Ken, I'm gonna go take care of my kids now. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, adopt previous meeting minutes. Or were there any corrections to the minutes? They were sent out to all of the planning group members. Hearing none, those will be approved as written. I also sent out an annual report for the last year. This is something we're required to do each year. I put that together basically by going through all the minutes and pulling out all of our actions and other information. I need a motion to accept the annual report. Motion
So
from
moved.
Craig,
I'll second it, Jeff.
second from Joe. Okay. Is there anyone who does not agree with accepting that motion?
Who was the first? Sorry. Second by Joe, but who was who
Craig
made the
Jackson.
motion?
Craig
Craig
Jackson.
Jackson, thank you.
All right, hearing none, we'll consider the annual report adopted. I'll go on to the report of the chair. There's a few things to report. I received an update on the Nancy Ridge Business Park. This is a proposal to subdivide 2 previously graded lots into 3 and construct 4 industrial buildings. We reviewed and approved this project in 2019, but they made a few changes since then. They sent me all the drawings. I checked them and decided they were insignificant, so there's no need to see that project again. We got the first assessment letter for the Cox Communication Program to install fiber optic cable into Miramar. That project we approved last month. It wasn't really controversial. If anyone wants to see the assessment letter, let me know. I received a letter from Craig Jackson regarding deficiencies in transit and parks in the community plan update. We discussed that at some length at the plan update meeting. I have it on the agenda for discussion at this meeting also. And there was a NORA for as-needed installation, repair, and rental of fences, gates, nets, and barriers citywide. It didn't specifically mention any place in Mira Mesa, but those happen all over the place. Next item is election of planning group officers. We have to do this every 2 years after our election. I would like to continue as chair of this group. Is there anyone else who wants to throw their name in or would like to be considered for chair? If not, can I get a motion to accept me?
I move we accept Jeff as the continuing chair by acclamation.
I'll second and third it.
Okay. Any objection to that? All right. Hearing,
Oh, you've done an
No.
awesome job. Thank you, Jeff.
well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Jeff. You really do a great job.
Appreciate that. So we don't have a vice chair. Ted Brengel was vice chair. He's no longer on the group. So we do need someone. Is there anyone who would like to volunteer or nominate someone to be vice chair? If there aren't any, I'm going to nominate Craig Jackson as vice chair.
I'll second that nomination.
You accept that, Craig?
I accept.
All right. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, hearing none, then we will accept Craig Jackson as vice chair of the Mira Mesa Community Planning Group. Congratulations. I'll
Thank you.
also make you my alternate to CPC, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. Secretary. We're going to re-elect Mary whether she wants it or not.
Wait a minute.
I'll nominate Mary for that.
If anybody else wants to do it, I would be happy to pass on all the documentation. Anyone?
You were
Okay.
nominated.
Okay.
You are the secretary. Thank you very much. Okay, we have one more action to take.
So we don't need a second. You nominate me to continue to be the secretary and then that's it?
I'll second it.
We have a
Okay.
second from Joe Frichtel.
Thank you.
And we approve by acclamation since there was no objection to it. Okay. So two of our property owner members are appointed. Mike Linton has been representing Vulcan on here for a long time, so with no objection, I would like to get a motion to have Mike Linton continue in that position.
So
I'll make
moved.
a motion. Oh,
Motion
sorry.
by Craig, second by Lil. Any objections? Hearing none, Mike, you are a planning group member again. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go on to community plan update. I made this an action item just in case we needed to take an action. Alex was talking about asking for a recommendation on the options, but we didn't do that at the plan update meeting, so we don't necessarily need to do that, but I still like to leave it open for discussion after Alex gives his report. So go ahead, Alex.
Good evening, everyone. Alex Ross, project manager for the Mira Mesa Community Plan Update, representing the planning department. We discussed two alternative land use scenarios at tonight's meeting earlier to discuss, different approach. It's loosely based on land use scenario 3 presented at the February meeting, and I've taken feedback from planning commissioners and major stakeholders and community members and have refined it. So that was what was presented. It should be available online by close of business tomorrow with the recording if you wanted to see the presentation. So planning to continue the outreach with major property owners and businesses on the two alternatives, and we'll refine it further if there is a need and provide with the final kind of two options for the committee at the May meeting. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions for Alex or any discussion on this topic?
This is Mary. I was just wondering if if the committee is going to reevaluate the proposal based on COVID and a lot of companies working from home and have their employees not coming back. And if they're coming back, it's going to be maybe in a staggered workforce. I mean, are you guys looking into that? Because I'm sure you've noticed the traffic is not what it used to be into Sorrento Valley at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, I think it's the greatest traffic mitigation that we have foreseen. So we'd hope this trend continues for Mira Mesa, and more hybrid work option, I think, is the direction things are going. So, even flexible work time as well. So if people can stagger when they come in and leave, I think that would really help with the traffic. So even if there is additional, new developments, that it can help with the flow of traffic, which would be the ideal situation.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Alex? Okay, I'll just make a couple comments. What we asked, I mean, what's being discussed here is potentially a huge change in the community plan with up to 24,000 units, 50,000 new residents. So, the potential impacts are large, but there's also a range that actually goes from 0 to 24,000 units. So what I'd really like to see is to get a better handle on what this will actually look like, how much of that is likely to be developed, how much not. And so we've asked, if possible, to get some of the property owners in to tell us what they actually think they're going to do, as well as some designs, so we can see what this will look like, and to at least start to get an assessment of the impacts, because that's that number of people increasing the population of the community by about 50% is no small change. Okay, anything else for Alex?
I
Jeff,
just wanted to make some comments about the OSET survey itself. So I think it's probably too late since the scenarios that were presented were already based on sort of the most change, the highest density changes. But for the future, I'd like to see more refinement in the OSET survey. The way that it was administered leads itself to a lot of self-selection bias, meaning that you're going to get people with very strong opinions responding to and completing the survey, which is what we saw with the barbell approach, or sorry, the barbell results. And I think this can lead to misinformed conclusions about what the community actually wants, especially when the survey respondents, the total number was less than 1% of the actual population of Mira Mesa. And so I am concerned that a lot of the scenarios were based on these results, as these results sort of being representative of the community opinion. But the way that the survey is administered, I don't believe that that's a fair statement. I think that the survey itself may say something about the people who responded, but does not represent the community as a whole, as a scientifically conducted random survey would.
thanks, Ian. I'll add one more thing to that also. I mean, there were pictures given in that survey that so when people responded to it, they thought they were choosing among these visual representations of the different options, but the options being proposed now are much more intense than any of those pictures. Okay, anything else?
Yes, Julia, it seemed like majority of people voted for either a low density or rather high density. But the low density choice just went away. And now we're going with high density or extremely high density. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, why we are presented two high density choices.
Yeah, so I can answer that. So we had, option one, scenario one was more of the low density option, reflecting some of the feedback received from the OSET tool. Definitely not perfect in any ways, but that option was specifically through the Planning Commission workshop that the commissioners did not want to see the option one provided anymore. I mean, essentially 5 commissioners said they preferred scenario 3. And then one commissioner, Commissioner Tsuji, wanted kind of a in-between between scenario 2 and 3. In terms of all the stakeholder inputs, letter of support has been for scenario 3. So I've incorporated all those feedback and input and refining these 2 options. If there was a clear preference for scenario 1 at the February meeting, I could have advocated a community's perspective, at the Planning Commission, but all we heard was the support for scenario 3 from letters and from input. So that's kind of what I'm basing the refinements on.
Any other questions for Alex?
Jeff, maybe I should make a couple of comments. I believe I sent this letter on the plan update to everybody I could find on my mailing list. If there are people who would like to see it, please send me, and you can send it via Jeff, or it's just Craig M. Jackson, SD@outlook.com, and I will forward it to you. There were several concerns that I expressed. One was, if we go to high density housing developments, we really need to pay close attention to the parks that can be created, and land is always a problem for parks that will accommodate the needs of younger people. Some of what is described there are small parks, places where you can sit and enjoy the outdoors, the ambience, restaurants, things of that sort. And I would welcome that, but I'm not in the age group that's really needing to get out and run around, play games in parks. The other was that we have transit from existing residential areas to the proposed transit corridors. And one of the things that has been evident, and Alex has indicated that it will be responded to, is that transit access along Sorrento Valley Boulevard in Cali Cristobal is non-existent, has been, and has not been explicitly addressed to date. And I point that out because this is a very large fraction of single family homes in Mira Mesa, Pacific Ridge, and to all of the developments that are along Cali Cristobal. And some of them have fairly long and somewhat torturous paths to even get to Cali Cristobal. And so this, I think, will need to be explicitly addressed, hasn't been, and Alex has assured me that it will be. Those were the concerns. They were expressed, and I think they will be expressed, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But as I say, anyone who would like the very detailed descriptions of these areas, I'd be happy to send it to you. That's all, Jeff. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for Alex?
Jeff, I have one.
Go ahead.
First, just a comment. Ian and Julia both said it perfectly, I think, though, how it's funny how scenario 1 and scenario 3 both got the highest votes. You would think then you would just compromise and say, okay, well, scenario 2's in between them. If there's a tie between 1 and 3, seems, well, why would you pick 3? Why don't you just pick 2? That's the middle one. Now, if somebody who doesn't live in the community, works for the city, makes the decision to go with 3, then why did we have the survey? That's more of a comment, though. My question, though, is if I want to live in San Diego and not live in a high density community, is that going to be an option? Will there be a place in San Diego that is like the density that Mira Mesa is now, or will that be, but I have to move out of town?
Yes, so Craig, 82% of city of San Diego is Mira Mesa density. It's car dependent community. So majority of the city is what you describe, suburban.
Currently.
Only minor percentage is a walkable neighborhood. There is a shortage of walkable mixed use multimodal neighborhood. That's the challenge which I presented at the Economic Forum earlier to assess. In terms of option 2 not being reflected, that is not correct, because the alternative that I came back to the community earlier tonight, scenario 3A, incorporates a lot of the density and land use recommendations of scenario 2, which reflects more of the middle ground. So that's represented, even though it's 3A, 3B. I think we're just trying to keep it simple terminology wise.
Okay.
In terms of outreach, so Mira Mesa Community Plan Update has the widest breadth and depth in terms of community outreach of any community plan updates. I mean, we've been able to actually track and reach a lot of the underrepresented voices, young people, renters, communities of colors. So, we could always do more. We could survey every single residence. And so I think there are opportunities for that. And so I think those are my, clarifying comments. And, this is, ongoing iterative process. So like the lower density option is represented in the two alternatives presented earlier, at least for center and then the gateway.
So does density and walkability, are those two connected? Like, can you have a relatively low density but still be a walkable neighborhood? Or do you consider those the same?
So density and walkability, so there's a couple criterias, right? I mean, the peer review research is pretty clear. It's not just density, you need diversity of land use, you need, close destination to transit, you need good design. So street patterns, smaller
Right.
blocks, and then you need to have demographic and destination, access to destinations. So Mira Mesa, actually has a lot of those things, and adding, more mixed use and essentially retrofitting the suburban land use pattern is possible. Yeah, but so yes, typically, walkable neighborhoods have certain amount of density. So I think it's all relative. It's like, what do you consider low density? Like I think someone in rural area would say, well, 1 unit per acre, like, and I think other folks will say, well, 4 homes per acre. And then in more urban areas, 40 dwelling units per acre is fairly low to medium density. So I think it's all relative, but I mean, I totally understand your concern on the change, right? That the city is essentially moving towards, and it's not just the city, but like state law that is, that I have to follow as well. So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, that's the concern I have, is I don't want to live in a much higher density area than I am currently. And it seems like that's the direction everything's going towards, like a one paseo type of land use. And that's not where I want to live. So I just concerned that 20 years from now, is all of San Diego going to be that way? And kind of,
I
get the
think,
feeling it is.
like policy wise, wherever the transit corridor or transit priority areas is identified is the direction that the state, the region, the MPO, which is Sandag, and the city is moving towards. But there will be plenty of suburban low density communities available. I think the question is, as homeowners, is that do we keep the door open for future generation or not? Because I think that's what it's come down to now, with record low inventory of housing, record high price of housing. I mean, all the young people and families are getting priced out. Supply, increasing capacity supply is the one tool that the city has. I mean, there's a lot of, other external forces, but and that's the question that, every neighborhood is essentially grappling with. And, I think a lot of people want to keep San Diego the way it has been, kind of low key and laid back and low density. But I think, as the second largest city in California and the third largest life science cluster in North America, we're a big city. And as Mayor says, like, we need to start transitioning and acting like a big city. And, one part of the land use proposal is that we have not proposed any changes to single family, areas or existing multifamily. So, other cities are, essentially lifting the restrictions within the single family zone. So there are things in preserving canyons. So I think there are a lot of things that we're not proposing to make sure the existing single family areas remain that way. So at least through the plan update.
All right, thank you.
I see there's a hand up from Andrew Miklusakak.
Hi, Alex. Thank you for your clarification on those things. So are you saying that you are still open for additional input? And if so, will you then, or will someone then create a different survey result?
So the input is open, through, we meet monthly at the Mira Mesa Community Plan Update Advisory Committee. So that's a primary forum. Other people email me or call. So those are the inputs, that I'm receiving right now. Others sets a meeting. So a lot of the larger property owners, will set a meeting with me, and then they'll say, well, this is, so they'll provide a feedback that way. So that's open still. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
But go back and do another survey. I don't have a budget for that.
Okay, so for example, if I wanted to go out and walk door to door in my neighborhood and disseminate the survey, give survey results, and get them to you, or if anyone else on this in the planning group wants to do that, are you saying that you will incorporate those results into the survey results that have been presented thus far? Because I agree with Ian's comments that less than 1% of Mira Mesa is represented by the survey results that you are touting as, I'm just concerned that 1% of Mira Mesa is not representative of the desire for a lot of people.
Yes, and I agree, but what's the representative sample? I mean, I think 700 people actually, statistically speaking, you could get 95% confidence interval. Of course, that's not the highest standard, but so like think of a lot of the polling, right? Usually they'll poll 700 people to get a general idea about where people stand on certain issues. And so this very much how surveys done. Of course, you could take it to the next level, door to door, and have opportunities for further. So
are you open to that? That's my question. Are you open to that? Or not you necessarily, but the process, is it open to that? And what was your original goal when you created the survey? What kind of response rate were you hoping for?
I think probably like minimum 700.
No, I mean the percentage. Let's talk about the percentage.
Yeah, so percentage, we're getting into like statistics,
yes, exactly,
but
exactly.
Yeah. So it was, the goal was broad representation and participation. What does that mean? We don't typically get renters participating in these plan updates, young people, young families, and certain demographic groups. So we tracked all this information to make sure that we're hearing from like a broad, demographic makeup of Mira Mesa, and it wasn't perfect representation, but it was better representation than many of the planning processes in the region. So that's number one. Yes, is there a self-selection bias? Of course, people that are interested in land use, housing, right, economic development are more likely to take the survey. But as we saw in the result, it was like 86% of the survey participants lived in either Mira Mesa or Sorrento Valley, in those two zip codes. So that's a very high percentage of survey respondents, not people from outside the community. So that's what it's based on. But at the end of the day, right, it's the advisory committee is an advisory. You're free to get more input, and I'll try to incorporate it. But what the planning commissioners had said, just emphatically to explore scenario 3, but I still came back with components of 2 and 3. So that option is available for the community, and I think that's the best avenue right now to really advocate for a little bit of the lower density or intensity scenario that's presented. But if you want to go beyond that, I mean, that's fine as well. I mean, ultimate decision maker is, it goes to the planning commission and then the city council. So city council is the ultimate decision makers in these regards. So those are other avenues. So yeah, input is ongoing, but once we have the preferred land use, then it sets in gear all kinds of other analysis, like the traffic modeling, and it's very expensive and time intensive. So, I think that between now and May 15th or whatever our next meeting is that's the good time, to really advocate for at least the two options. And if there's an additional, certain areas where this is way too high, it needs to come down, and now is the time, and then I'll, share with the team and try to incorporate it.
So if anyone wants to see it, the planning commission hearing is online. I have to say, I wasn't particularly happy with that hearing. I thought I had sent them a letter that I believe I sent to all of you, expressing a number of reservations about the plan update. And they basically just blew it all off and said, yeah, we love option 3. So that's where we are, but it goes, the decision makers are planning, the update advisory committee and actually advises the planning group. The planning group advises the city council and the planning commission. But the planning commission and the city council are the bodies that have the authority to accept or reject this. So that's where we are. All right, Alex, thank you very much.
I see John's hand is up.
Oh, John, go ahead.
Yeah, if you could just real quick. So I'm just curious, why are you coming to us as the local planning group if we, as Jeff just said, the major people that are making this decision are outside of the community? I think you've heard from a number of people on this committee that we do not like the higher density buildings and the higher density plans. Most people in the committee, it seemed to me, voiced positive results for the plan number 1, the option 1. That option has now been removed. I'm just curious as to why we continue to sit through these discussions if our inputs will not be taken seriously. Thank you.
Yeah, so I have not been aware that, scenario 1 has been a preference to a large group of people. I have not heard any of those input or see any feedback on that. Because if that was the case with the advisory committee, I would have been very clear at the planning commission workshop that there is overwhelming support for, scenario 1. So there was that opportunity. So, I'll take, are you asking to bring option 1, the lower kind of density version of the land use? And is there critical support for that? And I'm basing it on what I'm receiving. So this is news to me because all the support letter of support, the public input, at the planning commission has been typically on the 3.
Then
Well,
I'm sorry
Let me
that I did not voice my opinion to you sooner.
let me just comment. When this went to planning commission, you had options 1 and option 3. The survey that you sent out showed a roughly even division of respondents preferring option 1 as to option 3 with that barbell shape that there weren't any in the middle, because people tend to want either the lower impact or the what look like higher amenities in the upper version. And in your description of it to the planning commission, you said, well, option 1, that's just the existing community plan. Well, it's not really the existing community plan. It's the existing community plan after you update the land use to incorporate quite a lot of additional housing. So, I didn't really think that was accurate. But the planning commission, I mean, if, I know it's, again, I would encourage people to watch that hearing and see how they reacted. I mean, they really did focus in on option 3 and say, we want that one. So that's where we are. Anything else,
Jeff, if I could pop in
Right.
On this, that I really think that the sort of barbell or dumbbell shape was what we observed from the 700 people who replied. The concern I have had all along has been how well was it understood? Some of us who've been involved from day one still had, I think, at least I did, questions about the differences between the two. And I agree that Jeff's view that option 1 as something reflecting the current situation was not really accurate. It was a modified version of the current situation, closer to the current situation, certainly than option 2 or option 3, but it was not exactly that. I think, though, one also has to face the fact that most of us become comfortable. I like my chair. I like how I drive to get home. And embracing change is actually a lot of work because I've got to think about the advantages or disadvantages to that. And so I think any further input, Alex, should be taken seriously, particularly if Andrew is going to actually take a poll with the appropriate explanations to people he would interview to consider that. I think, though, that when forget about the sampling bias, which is pretty obvious, and forget about the very low fraction of respondents in terms of the population, there are not all that many people in Mira Mesa or any place else who are either capable, willing, or have the time to do the work to try to understand what the options are and then express their wishes in any kind of a survey. That's the dilemma of the democracy that we live in.
I would like to add a little bit of information.
Go ahead, Joe.
The city is making their decisions based on the future of our environment here. They, one of the things with the survey, if there was an option for none of the above, I think that would have been selected by 90% of the people. You and me know, Jeff, that the city is now changing the requirements for park acreage for people. They're trying to do away with the FBA and the DIF funds and put those all in a universal pot to support other areas of the community. So really the policymakers downtown, I don't feel they really care what we want to decide. They're going to say, no, you want to do this because this is best for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, Alex, I think we've beaten up on you long enough for one evening, but thank you for coming out and listening to us. And we will move on to the next agenda item.
Yeah,
Personally,
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So there is no new business. I do have some presentations next month, but I got no requests for any this month. So we'll go on to elected officials reports. Are there any elected officials here? I do have a report from Michaela Volk from the mayor. She wasn't able to be here, but she sent me the report. It says, please join us this Saturday at 10 a.m. on Zoom for a District 6 Meet Your Mayor Town Hall co-hosted with Councilmember Cate. an RSVP at sandiego.gov/mayor-cd6 town hall. Please help us encourage qualifying residential renters who live in the city of San Diego to apply for the city's COVID-19 Housing Stability Assistance Program at covidassistance.sdhc.org. The City of San Diego's Economic Development Department is now offering low interest rate loans ranging from $25,000 to $95,000 to qualified businesses. Businesses can check to see if they're eligible for the loans by visiting sandiego.gov/CARES Act RLF. She also sent a news report describing the mayor's proposed budget. It's a little too long to read at this meeting. But I can, if anyone's interested, I will, I'll just go ahead and I will forward this out to the whole committee.
Thank you. That I think is great. Forward it.
I will do that. Are there any other elected officials here tonight?
Hey, Jeff, Evelyn's here.
Oh, Evelyn, yes.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you all again. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Evelyn Andrade. I'm here representing Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer, and just do have a few small updates for you. For those that don't know, as of April 15th, anyone 16 or over is eligible for the COVID vaccine. So please, please encourage everyone that you know, your friends, your family, your children, to please get the vaccine. It's very easy to move back into the old tier if we don't continue to be safe and wear masks and wash our hands and get the community vaccinated as soon as possible. I know many of you, as I am, eager to get back to seeing each other in person, but we really just need to get as many folks vaccinated as possible. So please go to vaccinationssuperstationsd.com to get vaccinated and make an appointment. We do recommend that you check the link throughout the day because they do post appointments throughout. Also want to let you know that Supervisor Lawson-Remer is taking action to fix the low enrollment in county aid programs. She made some proposals to remove barriers for eligible residents, and at our last meeting, the board voted for a comprehensive review of enrollment hurdles and did ask staff to make plans to overcome them. We really want people to come to the county when they need help and not to be scared because programs are confusing or because there's a negative stigma. Additionally, the supervisor joined with Supervisor Desmond to launch a new pilot program for North County homelessness. It's going to be an outreach team that's going to be led by trauma-informed social workers, and they will provide connections to wraparound services and support for our homeless community. Also, for those that don't know, we have a mobile crisis response team that are also known as MCRT teams. These are trained mental health clinicians that respond to non-violent emergency calls as opposed to having our law enforcement come out. Currently, this program does not operate overnight, but at the request of Supervisor Lawson-Remer and Chair Fletcher, the board did vote to expand the hours in the North County coastal area to make it 24/7. The goal is to have them 24/7 operating across the county. So we are excited to be piloting that here in North County. Definitely have a lot more information to share on what's happening. So please consider signing up for our email list if you haven't already. I will put that link in the chat, as well as my phone number and email, so you can reach out if you have any questions. Also happy to answer any questions right now as well.
Thank you, Evelyn. Any questions for Evelyn?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there any effort on the county to improve the appointment system for the vaccines, the COVID vaccines? Because currently the website is, I mean, I thought it was hard getting an appointment at the DMV, but the county makes the DMV's website look great. I mean, this whole having to hunt around all these different independent places just to see if they have one. Is there any effort on the county to try to streamline that process to get the appointment? Because that seems to be the hardest part of the whole process right now.
Yeah, we're always trying to make improvements to that process and certainly welcome input from the community. So Craig, if you provide me with your contact information, I can definitely get back to you on that to see how we can make it easier to navigate for you all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, everyone.
Are there any other elected official reports tonight? I don't see anyone here. Luis was here earlier, but I think Chris Cate gave his report for him. Are there any announcements tonight?
Yeah, Jeff, I have announcement on the parks here in Mira Mesa. The phase 2 for the swimming pool and the skateboard park should be under construction in March of 2022. The park at Sauk neighborhood should be under construction in September of this year. And the Wagenheim redo of the park over there should be under construction in August of this year.
Thank you, Joe. Any other announcements? We'll go on to reports for CPC. We had a Zoom meeting on March 23rd. The first one, so Joe LaCava was there. Joe LaCava has been on planning groups for a long time. He was CPC chair. He's now the councilman for District 1. He reported that an issue has come up as to whether or not the community planning groups are legal under the city charter. And he's trying to work out a way to make them so. This also applies to recreation advisory groups. But the issue is that I guess these sort of self-organizing groups like the planning group are not exactly what is envisioned as committees in the city charter. Now, there are two ways that it could be resolved. The first one would be make all the planning groups appointed by the city council. The second way would be to make them completely independent from the city. But in that case, the city couldn't require developers to come and present to us. So neither of those are good options. So Joe is trying to find a better solution. He's probably the best person we could have working on this problem. So we'll see what he comes up with. In addition to that, we had a presentation on the DSD Electronic Services. Development Services Department is in the process of eliminating all paper and going entirely online. I have to tell you that is very helpful for planning group chairs who used to get massive amounts of paper in the mail all the time, and I don't need it. And the last thing was a presentation on the library master plan. The library is going through a process where they are updating their master plan. All right, Pam, Penasquitos Canyon. Excuse me.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Los Penasquitos Canyon Preserve Citizens Advisory Committee had a meeting on Thursday, March 18th. And at that time, we elected our officers for the committee for the coming year. Frank Landis was reelected chair. Ann Fahey, spelled F-E-G-E, was reelected vice chair. And I was reelected as secretary treasurer. We had a presentation about a wetlands mitigation phase 2. I think it's the El Cuervo phase 2. I don't have my notes here since Jeff and I are at my sister's house in Oregon, and I did not manage to bring that folder, but we did not take any action on that. We wanted a little more information about it. It was, they were asking us for some input on just what was happening with that. So we'll probably continue that over to the next meeting. And I believe that was it for the March meeting. If there's anything else, I'll email that in as part of my report. The May meeting, because we meet in odd numbered months, it'll be Thursday, May 21st. And Jeff and I are going to be getting ready to meet up with family for camping. So Craig Radke, are you, I think I saw you in the participants. Would you be able to attend that meeting?
The next meeting for the advisory committee? is
Yeah,
what you
the
said?
next meeting, it's third Thursday in May, which I believe is the 21st.
I should be able to.
Perfect, awesome, thanks.
Okay, that project by the El Cuervo Adobe will actually be on our agenda probably right after that.
Good.
For those who don't know that, where that is, it's down in Penasquitos Canyon. If you go to the parking staging area at the west end of the canyon and you go over the big hill, as you go down, you can see the area on the left. It's an area that's been restored to improve wildlife habitat, and there are already lots of birds swimming around in it. All right, are there any other reports tonight?
No, but the third Thursday, Pam, is May 20th, so.
Oh, May 20th,
Yeah.
I stand corrected then, May 20th.
All right, well, no other business.
Actually, Jeff, I had a question. This is in.
One more.
So I wasn't sure if maybe if you could direct me, or maybe this is a Mira Mesa Town Council question. What is being done to address the street racing, the motorcycles, basically racing? I've heard this issue come up before. I don't know if it was in one of these meetings. Is there anyone what is the best way to bring some resolution to that problem?
It is more of a town council question. I would probably start with Luis.
Okay.
Anyone else have any suggestions on that? I guess it's not
Hi, this is Lil. I've been working with this, I'm the president of the Sereno Valley Town Council, and we've been working with Officer Briggs on that because every Thursday night at 10 o'clock, the motorcycles race on Sereno Valley Boulevard and they go east. And then also on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, they also the drag race. So he's been helping us. He got the speed trailer back for us, and we've been trying to get signage and anything we can do to deter them. Unfortunately, they're so short-staffed that they, there's like 4 or 5 of them for a huge radius. So, just if you want, it's Officer Briggs. He's the community relations officer for Northwestern Division. He would be a good person to reach out to. So.
Okay, thanks, Lil. I just put my email address in the chat.
Okay.
Can you just send me his information? I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, is there any other business tonight? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right, thank you.
Good job, Jeff.